Were your parents at all like concerned about this line of work?
Yes. My mom was like, won't we just try this? I'll pay for you to go back to school. You can do.
She's like, 4 more years.
4 more years. Shop with the cop. We also, one of our other big programs that we do is our Citizen Police Academy. I'm a big fan of that. If y'all haven't joined or tried it, nothing major's going on, and we have plenty of people there. We do get people that just stop by, like, hey, we just want to check out the department, or I'm interested, or my kids want to just see the K-9 or see the officers. Like, they're all about that.
I want to know what it's like being a female in this role, and like, was there ever challenges as you got into it, or has it always been smooth sailing? Hey guys, it is Rachel Branningham here with Hometown Hustle, along with my co-hosts
Grafton Sizemore
and Brittany Jackson.
And we are on episode 5, guys. Like,
5.
That is crazy. And it has quickly become something that I really look forward to. Like, I really enjoy our evenings together. So, and I love the feedback. Like, as I'm out in the community, people are like, "Oh my gosh, we're listening to your podcast and we love it." And it's such a rewarding feeling. Like, I know we commented back on the first episode, but this has been such a long road to get to here. Now to see people actually enjoying it.
I know, it's awesome. It gives you a little bit of validation about the idea and where we started and how it's going, and people like literally messaging us and saying, how do I become a guest? Like, that's the other cool thing too. We got people interested on being on, and I think.
And so if you've messaged us, just heads up, like, we came into the podcast with like a set list of people that we wanted to start with. And so if you haven't gotten word back from us, it's not that we're ignoring you.
Or
just
a date
FYI.
scheduled or anything like that. Like, we were pretty booked from the start.
The way I think we thought we were going to do this, and I think it's working out this way. First of all, we want to make sure people even listened.
Yes.
To see if we made it far enough.
If y'all cared enough.
Right. But,
about anything we had to say.
But it's seasons, right? Because we've got some busy lives in the summer. And to do this right and make sure that it's done in a way that we're not just throwing something together, and that we actually get to sit down and have the good discussions and the good talks, is we're going to do like roughly 10 episodes, something like that this season. So we'll have a season 1. We're booked up for this season, which is crazy to think about.
That's crazy.
And we're starting to think about what season 2 looks like, which will hopefully start somewhere. I don't want to put a date on it, but somewhere probably once we get back to school in August. We'll end this around May, at the beginning of May, something like that. If I'm thinking right, Brittany? I know we've kind of talked some schedule stuff.
Thinking,
and then we'll go into
unless
summer.
We completely change our minds, because we love it so much.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's like the highlight of my every other week. It's the highlight.
It really is
so
like
to
see you 3 or you 2. To see
you
too.
herself. Yeah.
I like seeing myself, but just to to sit down here and actually get to talk to you guys and catch up with you all, because we live busy lives. But then every single guest has been just such a privilege to get to hear their story, know what's their business and what they're doing in the community. And we've got an incredible guest that we're bringing to you today. Just so happens one of my very favorite humans in the world.
Your bestie?
So my bestie. Yes, you rarely see me without her. And I'm just so grateful that God brought us together. Like, that relationship is just one that's very near and dear to my heart. So when she agreed to come on today, I made her swear to not embarrass me. So we'll see how that goes.
We'll see how that goes.
But I do a great job of embarrassing myself. Let's be honest.
We both are good at embarrassing ourselves.
Whatever, Brittany.
We all do.
No. I was calling Grafton Brittany Spears, not you. Yeah, I forgot your name was Brittany for a half second.
I knew what you were saying, but it just made me think the other way. No, but it's so much fun to get in here and do this before we have our guest on now too, because we kind of started this going straight into the guest, but this gives the 3 of us a little chance to catch up. So
speaking of,
I know y'all are so excited to go back and like what happened in the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, we're ready to know, Miss Branningham, what happened during your Valentine's?
My Valentine's was wonderful because I got to spend it with my kiddos. So I had them this year. And so I surprised them with like a whole ton of stuff on the island. But I know that's not the juicy details you're looking for.
I trust me, your kiddos are great. And
he's like, can we skip past
your
that?
kiddos? Awesome.
I stopped by your office the other day. I got to see them in the office with Mom at work because they were out of school.
Lord. Yes.
And I got to see them on Valentine's. It was actually Valentine's Day, wasn't it?
I tried to give them to you. I was like, here's your gift.
She did. She said, take my
I said, Grafton, you want kids here?
I do, but these poor children are like, oh, who is this guy? I mean, they know me. They see me around, but they're like, Mom is trying to palm me off on this guy tonight. And so what that brought to my attention in my head, though, was if I needed to watch the kids,
what was
going on? No, I'm just curious. I'm curious. How did it go? And she's going to get mad at me for saying this on camera, but I was talking to a few people over on her team, and I was asking everybody how many bouquets of flowers they thought she might get on Valentine's Day.
You are so funny.
Did you get any flowers?
There were some flowers delivered.
Were there?
Yes.
Is that all I'm getting? That's it? That's all I'm going to get?
Well, I'm just going to say they weren't Danielle Fogel's, Danelle Fogel's, card.
Roses.
No, the card in there with that phrase. That was not
It was not that. Okay.
No, it was a very nice Valentine's Day.
Good.
So yes, it was a nice one. So we'll see where it goes.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Maybe someday I'll be telling you how it all started right before Valentine's Day.
There you go.
Maybe.
10 years from now. Be like, well, that one Valentine's Day when we were filming our podcast.
How about you?
Well, the only flowers I got were from Rachel.
Hey, I'm so glad I got those.
Listen, my hubby was sick. I'm going to chalk it up to that, but I'm still waiting.
Oh.
Ryan, we'll give you another chance. No,
this isn't coming out. We're shooting this a little. This isn't coming out for like another week or so from when we're shooting this. So I got to talk to him.
I know you better get something straight.
I'm Team Ryan. He was sick. So in his defense, have you ever had a man cold? They're serious.
We're out.
Okay?
Like we're out.
Done.
Just completely.
Like us women, like Brittany's worked straight through COVID and the flu in the office, still working. She don't care. I do it too. And like a man gets a cold.
Are y'all really sick or are you all sick? Because we're sick.
I love that he's trying to say that we're not that sick.
The only time that I am like down and out is if I'm anywhere close to throwing up. And
I can't do that. I can't do the stomach bug. Yep. I will not come to work. That is about the only time.
We're
even then I'm available by phone.
I do try to be thoughtful of other humans. Like I can work through it, but not everyone can. So I do try to if I know I'm really sick, I will try to cough the other direction or whatever.
So I have to ask this though. You have girls, right? Mm-hmm. You have boys. Mm-hmm. When your boys are sick, do you coddle them? Do you bring them everything at their beck and call? Because some of us mama's boys,
I'm raising
some of us mama boys have man colds for a reason. We were brought up a certain way.
Well, I am actually very impressed by my kiddos. Now Xander's 5, so I probably still coddle him a little bit. But like Max had the stomach bug not too long ago, and he went threw up on his own, came back. I of course checked on him, but. Like that, I didn't do that when I was a kid. My mom held my hand. My mom held my hair.
Yeah,
she was so gentle with me and caring. But my kiddos are. I think that comes from their father, though. Keep in mind, 50% of the time they're raised by dads.
So it's all on us. Our dads are the reasons we have man colds
No. Opposite. I'm saying 50% of the time they're with their dad, so that they've learned to handle. And just Joe's luck, he always gets them when they're sick. Like it's excellent.
Oh, my dad used to say that to my mom all the time. He's like, every time you bring him to me, he's sick. That's my dad would always say that. I remember it when I was a kid.
Xander just threw up. I'm like, oh darn. I don't see him for 2 days. Hopefully they're over by the time they come to me.
I went with my dad for an entire 3 days with a broken thumb because he didn't believe I had a broken thumb. We were playing soccer and it wasn't his fault. But
done that.
I mean, I was kind of, I whined about a lot of stuff when I was little.
Max was on a trampoline when he was little and he buckled. It didn't break. It buckled his leg or knee.
Yeah.
And we ended up taking him to Dr. Bean and he had to get a cast. But it was like that for 3 days because he was a kid. So he just, of course, cried, but then got up and ran off to play.
Dad thought I sprained it.
Yes, but we kept noticing him baby it and was kind of limpy But then he'd act fine. So I was like, maybe it's a sprain. Eventually I'm like, no, maybe we should go. And then they're like, yeah, it's been buckled and it's bad and he needs a cast.
And you
I'm
probably
like,
felt horrible.
oh my God, I'm the worst mother in the world.
That's what my dad did too.
I am a beast, I'm
I
a
came back to my
monster.
mom and she's like, we're going to take him to the doctor. And sure enough, I broke my thumb. But I mean, going back to that, we'll give Ryan a pass this time.
Listen, women were made to go through like crazy pain, right? Like 2 out of the 3 of my kids are birthed naturally, but not on purpose. Okay, so like we were made to
I
go
made it
through.
to 5 centimeters. I'm like, I'm doing this naturally. I had a Lamaze coach, and I made it to 5 centimeters. And I looked at Joe, and I was like, "Get me an epidural." And he said, "No, you told me you made me promise not to do it, no matter what you said." I was like, I started screaming. I said, I didn't mean it.
Listen, mine didn't give me an option. Okay, they came too fast. Last one before the doctor even got into the room, I had her. So
wow.
Yeah, no option.
So as you were saying, we were created for, and you men are pansies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what it is.
Just going for the gullet.
I'll take it.
kidding.
I'm not winning in this battle. I work with 6 other women, and it's me and 6 other women. So sometimes you just got to learn when to shut up and take it.
How was your Valentine's Day?
It was a Valentine's Day. I did exactly what I told you I was going to do. I had a little date about the week before. And have you all ever had, well, Brittany, this may not have been a thing for you with how long you all been together, but Rachel, have you ever been with somebody and had textual chemistry?
Yeah,
have you heard
yes.
like the texting's going real well.
1,000,000% actually, yeah. And then you get into real life and you're like, oh, this didn't translate in the way I thought it would.
100. So
can we go back to texting?
Yeah, let's go back to the phone.
We can have a really good relationship
through
text. Just not in person.
We definitely had some textual chemistry things. I thought they went well the date, maybe not as well as maybe they could have gone. And so that just went. So then I ended up having a Valentine's Day where beforehand I was like, maybe I'll have some, maybe I won't. Well, it ended up with doing what guys do. I got some ice cream, went home and watched Love is Blind. It was good.
That's a good Valentine's Day, to be honest.
So Grafton's been talking so much about Love is Blind. I am now on it.
Well, you started with
I'm
the
leaving
cups.
here tonight to go
watch it.
It's
a good season. It's my guilty pleasure. I think every guy's got some kind of guilty pleasure. And I promised my brother, he laughs at me now. And I told him when he told me, you got to watch it. It's pretty good. My brother and sister-in-law, I said, I'm not watching that because I don't believe in that. Like that's not how love starts. And it is. It's really, really pure.
I actually am kind of jealous because I would like to be in that scenario. I think so much of like dating these days is visual. And you write people off based on what they look like or what you know about them oftentimes, like, oh, this person is, this or that. But on Love is Blind, like you're between a wall. And so you're just getting to know them as a human.
Yeah.
And the connections get so deep.
As long as they're being truthful.
There is a couple.
No.
David.
I've watched some of the other ones. I haven't watched the recent one.
Okay. So spoiler alert, if you've not got to this point, you may want to turn this off for a second. If you've not got through like the first 6 episodes. But
not a fan.
My thing is, I don't know how far are you?
I'm just past, I think everybody has met now.
Okay. So Madison, or I think they call her Mads on the show. Madison. She's the one who's like traveled the world, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you'll understand what I'm saying when you get to this point. I'm trying not to give too much away. That is the girl that I've always went after, and now I know why I'm single. Like the more I watch it, I realize why I know.
Now I get to watch it from the start, and now I'll just I'll pay attention.
So and it gets me, and it gets to me, and that's what kind of happens. But then I see, and I forget what her name is on it. I think I don't want to say who she ends up with because I'm not gonna. But she's the kind of person that I'm like, that's who I see myself with in the real world. Like it could go somewhere, but I never give myself a chance with that person, right? And I think that's what the show does. It like gets in your head. Do you find yourself like, and you will when you watch it, but do you find yourself sitting there thinking, which one of these guys would I be with?
Yes.
I do it with the girls. I'm like, which one of these girls would I find like we were? So that's where that textual chemistry thing comes in, right? Because I feel like in a way, Love is Blind does that because you're not worried about the face-to-face. You're probably still nervous and all that kind of stuff, but you don't see somebody face-to-face. You have no idea what they look like. You're just talking. And if you want me to just talk to somebody, man, I can win that game all day long. you put me in front of a beautiful woman and I don't know what to do with my hands. So I'm freaking out, right?
And that's why I think, I think I would do well in that situation because, I think all of us, I've been on enough dates where you get in front of each other and it's like you're awkward and uncomfortable. And it's like, it would be such a cool thing, like to like turn around and like just face away from each other and talk. There's something about looking at someone that makes you very nervous.
Oh yeah, it freaks you out.
Yes.
100% freaks you out.
I think it's a cool concept. So if Love is Blind is looking for a new cast member,
yeah, like you could put us both on there. We're friends. We know that nothing would like.
We've heard our voices enough.
We would go. Mine and Rachel's date on that would be talking about all our other dates.
I know. I'd be like, Crafty, which one?
Yeah,
okay, tell me what so and so looks like. Is this one a good one?
We'd ruin the whole experiment. Is what would happen.
There would be like an unveiling. These two know each other.
That would be so funny. It'd be hard to do in a small town though, because you know everybody. Like they do all these in big cities.
Yeah.
And if you don't know the concept, basically what they do is they go to a large city so that you're not dating somewhere from halfway across the world, because that's really hard to do.
Right, because you eventually like get married.
You get married if you choose to get married,
yeah.
but they only pick people from the same city. So this season is Minneapolis, I think, is what this season is. So they've got like 15 guys, 15 girls, and then you go in these pods and you can't see the person on the other side. But they have couches, you have dates, you're, having dinner together, all this weird stuff that you would normally do dating, but you never get to see this person.
All right, so you build just a really deep connection.
Yeah.
I think you could do that in a smaller town like this. I mean, you're just you're not seeing their face. You don't know. I mean,
but if they knew your name,
you could come up with a different name.
Yeah, that's the thing. You'd have to but the problem is you don't want to base this whole premise off of lies to start.
Correct. That's true. You really want it to be a genuine thing.
I mean, most of the time they don't know first and last name. If you just knew a first name.
Yeah, I'd have to go by Ben.
Okay,
in this town.
Definitely an idea. We may have to. My goal is that Grafton spend next Valentine's Day with someone. So if you
are
looking for a
super
genuine, deep connection with one of the nicest, kindest humans you've ever met,
absolutely,
call me
down to earth,
because I am great.
No, I knew I was about to.
That was perfect.
I was about to say the same about you, but no, you do not get that now.
Taking it back.
I want Rachel next Valentine's Day. I hope Rachel's sitting eating bonbons watching another episode of. I'm kidding. I hope we're both seing somebody next year, because
I hope Ryan buys you flowers.
Yes.
I'll just be the filter. So I mean, if you need either of them, you got to come through me. So
well, it's funny. So the date that I just went on was with a cop, and we get to talk to a cop today.
Yes,
and
I am super excited.
Of which, going into that's gonna be fun.
It's so cool. Like, we have been best friends, buddies, like inseparable now for several years, and I'm so grateful. And so outside of my friendship with her, I have a true love and respect for her and her position. And she is, she's incredible. Like, she's worked her way up through the department, and I'm super excited to hear her talk about the Elizabethtown Police Department, because I love living in E-Town, always have, and I think one of the aspects of that is how safe this community has always
100.
felt for me and my children. Like, coming back home, I lived in Louisville, lived in Lexington for a little while, and not that those aren't great cities. I just never felt as safe or as comfortable as I do here, and I think that really has a lot to do with the Elizabethtown Police Department.
Yeah, for sure. And before we get into that, and with her and everything that she's going to talk about with EPD and what they do for the community and how involved they are in the community, some of her personal stories, some of her personal Valentine's Day stories. Hopefully we can get that out of her. We'll see. Given that, like, what it's like to be a woman in a powerful position, or a position of power in this area, and kind of getting those deep dives with her. But before we get there, I got to know something from the two of you all. Do you remember the first time you got a ticket and got pulled over, and was it in this town?
I do. It was in this town. So all the things that I thought would work don't work. Okay.
All the tricks that you tried.
So you're saying I shouldn't?
So, okay, keep in mind.
You're saying I shouldn't try to seduce the officers. I'm kidding.
That may or may not happen.
Well, hello.
I tried, right? So I remember where I was. I was coming down Dixie way too fast. Like he was like, one more mile over the speed limit and I would take your license. But I tried all the cute things. Like as he comes up, I'm like, hello, officer. and
she watched too many movies.
For sure.
Supposed to work. He did not for a second have any sympathy. It was my first ticket. He slapped me. It was like a $300+ ticket.
And this was back when?
I was 18. I'm 35.
So this was back in like 1980. Sorry. It was
1980s?
too. Sorry, I didn't say that.
You mean when she was born?
But $300, like the worst part about
that's like a $600 ticket now. Jeez.
Well, the worst part about the whole thing is I was on my way to my parents' house for like family get-together. So my family, we get together all the time still to this day. But we were going there for somebody's birthday, and I walked in, and of course, like after my initial attempts to free myself from this horrible situation did not work, then I just started sobbing. And so I walk in, and of course, like my cheeks are all stained and my eyes are bloodshot. And so then I had to tell the whole family. And so that was as mortifying as the fact that the cop didn't fall for my seduction.
That's so great.
My seduction.
What the heck?
Oh, so mine was. So I've only gotten pulled over one time and did not get a ticket.
Okay, you know what's funny? I actually believe that.
I'm a rule follower, okay?
Okay, crafty.
I don't break rules. No, it probably had more to do with my car was a 1991 Toyota Corolla and couldn't get above 60 miles an hour in high school.
It's only so fast.
Once again, I reiterate, if you want the nicest human in the world, I give you Grafty.
Well, I'm pushing it now. I'm making up for all the bad, they used to call me grandma when I drove. My friends did. Like all my friends used to call me grandma. And they'd be like, let's see how fast we can get this thing up. I was like, guys, it's not safe. Like, so now I'm driving around like crazy, and they all got kids in the back seats now, and they're driving like they got Jell-O in the back seat so it doesn't fall over on the way. Me, on the other hand, no. I did it this morning. I got mad at somebody this morning. I'm like, you were going 40 in a 45. You need to pick it up to at least 55. Like, I got places to be.
You're one of those.
Yeah. No, so one time I ever got pulled over, I was not drunk, but it was being pulled over for suspicion of that because I went to a friend. It was his coming home party from being overseas, being deployed, and his parents had just built a house out past 1600. There's no street lights out there, so all I have is his address. Waze is not a thing at this point. So here I am swerving to every mailbox on this road with the headlights trying to see because I can't see the number of the house.
You're so pure.
And so I get pulled over, and he starts asking me questions, and then he asked me the same question again. I'm like, why did he just ask me the same question?
Did he make you walk the line?
No, because
I
want
to see that.
And he kept asking me. I'm just
it
trying.
Would have been another round of seduction on her part, trying to get away. She's like, I can do this real nice.
Well, finally he realizes after he asked me the same question the third time, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy thinks I'm drunk. He's trying to see if I'm answering the same way. I'm like, I promise, officer, I had anything to drink. And he was like, all right, have a good night, son. And then, I just go off, and that's the only time I've ever been pulled over.
I would like to go back. That one ticket's the only one I have.
That's a lie. How many? How many?
Well, thank God I married a cop for 10 years. Otherwise, I might have lost my license. Okay. There were several. But so I have to tell this story, and then we got to tell yours. So my dad had a seizure after he had been driving a piece of equipment. The equipment fell on the ground or fell into the hole. So he hit his head, so he ended up having seizures. Okay, past that, that's just, you have to know the context. Well, I had to drive my dad around for a couple months because he wasn't allowed to drive. So we were driving somewhere one day, and we're driving, and all of a sudden my dad looks at me and he goes, "Who taught you how to drive? You drive like a bat out of hell." And I was like, "You?"
He taught you how to drive, didn't he?
Dude, I have a lead foot. I got to get places quick. And
I have one now, and it's going to catch up to me. It's bad. It's bad.
I like speed.
Yeah. It's in our world, it's always go, go, go.
It is.
And that's
I'm
not
often
an excuse,
running late.
But
I'll
be late to my own funeral is what my mom says. That's just me.
I mean, I don't want to make anybody, I'm not trying to put anybody in danger. So
yeah,
I try to be responsible. Okay, Brittany, ticket.
I can just skip over mine.
No. How many?
Oh, no, I only have one. But It was just not a pretty situation. So I was married, so I was not trying to seduce the cop.
It has nothing to do with married or not married. You always try that, okay? It's $300.
No, but listen, I was dressed as Belle. Okay,
you and Grafty are the most pure humans in the world. Okay, I'm over here trying to seduce him, and you two are like, I was Belle. Yeah. And I was looking for house numbers. Okay, I see the crowd I'm in. God, really making me look like a whore.
Well, Ryan. Ryan was deployed, and I had just come through. So it was when he was obviously in the military because he was deployed. So I was coming through the gate, and I could see the 45-mile-per-hour sign in front of me, and I was somewhere in between the 35 and the 45, and I guess I was already going 45, and they pulled me over anyways. Well, I was coming back home from a princess party that I did, so I'm fully dressed as Belle. And he looked at me. He said, "Do you always dress like this on the weekends?" Oh, no. That is ingrained in my brain. He had no sympathy. I was crying because I had heard that if you got pulled over, if you got in trouble, then your spouse got in trouble too. Oh. So I'm sitting there thinking I don't like to break the rules either. And I'm like, oh no, what have I done? What's he going to hear when he gets back? All these things.
Let me set it straight. I don't mind breaking rules. You just can't get caught.
Okay, now that we're about to bring a police officer on, that's great to lead into.
All right, this never happened. We never had this discussion.
All right, guys. Well, this wonderful person has arrived, and we are super excited. So,
I hope she didn't just hear that.
We have a real quick word from our sponsors before we head into this incredible interview. So,
sounds good.
Thank you again for joining us. We'll be right back. The Fab Lab is the proud sponsor of today's episode of Hometown Hustle. Get ready to transform your fitness journey at the all-new Fab Lab. With dynamic group classes and personalized training programs, there's something for everyone. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, our expert trainers are here to guide you every step of the way. Join us today and be part of this vibrant community dedicated to health, wellness, and fun. Follow the QR code on the screen. The grand opening is March 1st. We can't wait to see you there. And we are back, and I am super excited to introduce today's guest. Not only is she one of my very closest and best friends, but she is also a complete badass. So she is none other than Sergeant Haire. Andrea, we are so excited to have you in the studio with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you just yesterday, but it's nice to see you again today.
We got Rachel and her baddie friends. Yeah, we got that going on today.
It is wonderful, going out with Andrea, because I always feel completely safe. We'll go to some, in Mexico, I drug her out into the streets, and my mom was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Mom, I've got my cop with me. We are fine. There's nothing to worry about.
I'm safe."
The good thing is I think my mom legit went "Oh, okay, we're fine then."
I check all the surroundings.
Scope it all out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I am so excited to have you here in the hot seat. So since we started this podcast, I remember calling you up. You were one of the first people I was telling about it. And I'm like, I can't wait to get you here in this chair and get to talk about your life and your story and everything that you do on a daily basis. You are one of my heroes. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh. Yeah. Well, if you don't know, so Andrea Haire is a sergeant with the Elizabethtown Police Department, and she has worked her way up inside that organization. And so she is going to tell us a little bit about her life, but also about what it's like to be a police officer in Hardin County. So I want to kind of start with a little bit about your childhood. Tell us about your family, your parents. I'll turn. I almost went into who they are, but I'll let you tell.
I love them too much.
You know a little too much. She knows them. She met them.
I love them very much. So go ahead. Tell us a little about your family.
Okay. Yes. My mom and dad, good old Pam and James. They are, born and raised E-Town. Well, I'd say that my dad's he's military. Anyway, they're Etonians. They're from the area. High school sweethearts, went to Western Kentucky together, and they stayed working. My mom worked for the Elizabethtown High School District, or just the Eaton School District overall, And my dad is, of course, people know Coach Haire. He's the E-Town Boys basketball. He's still coaching.
He's broken a lot of hearts. As a North Hardin grad, he broke a lot of hearts in his time.
Those
there,
were always good games.
They were not, but I'll give it to him. We were there. I was there during Stefan Pettigrew era. I was like a freshman or sophomore, and I was our mascot because I couldn't dunk, so I didn't play. So I played the other sports, but man, it was fun. It was always a good rivalry. And he was a big part of why that was such a good rivalry.
Always.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Coach Haire's first name. I mean, I always just called him Coach.
It's Coach.
I don't know
Most
that.
people call him Coach.
Yeah, but he's always pretty mellow. Like he's a serious guy. Like even when they've won like big championships, like he
Very
just
even kill.
Yeah.
During the games, he's all fired up, yelling. Then after the games, it's back
Back to dad.
calm, solemn. Like, yeah, we won, or yeah, we lost. We'll try to do better next time.
Oh, so he wasn't one of those coaches when you went in the next day, you couldn't talk to him if they lost for like the first 4 hours of the day?
No, I think when my younger brother, Jamie, he also played for my dad, and that was a little different.
A little harder.
Yeah, because after the games, my dad's just like, leave it on the court. What happens? And Jamie would come home and be like, why did we do this play? Or why didn't I play this time? And my dad's just like, Jamie, we don't talk about it. So that was a different dynamic.
Yeah, what's done is done. You don't get in trouble. Like afterwards, we let that conversation go so we can actually have some family time.
Yes. But during the games, I think like my dad would be like, I'm coaching, and I remember something Jamie did at home or did in class, and it just came back to me in the middle of the game, and I just start yelling at him about that.
Oh gosh.
Now, did you play?
I did. I played for the Elizabethtown girls basketball team.
How many years?
All 4 years.
All 4 years.
Through middle school and high school.
Okay.
I mean, how could you not if your dad coached?
Yeah.
No, I want to see videos of this. I've not heard about this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was a big man. I mean, I'm not that tall, but I played down low in the paint. So.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, going to games with like Andrea and her mom, like super supportive family of each other. Pam always sits right behind the bench.
Oh, yeah.
And these two get fired up. Like she warned me the very first game she invited me to. She was like, "Hey, just a heads up, we don't talk during the game. We focus on the game."
I could see Rachel sitting there like, so guy.
Oh, I
like,
was.
Stop.
I was like,
time out. We get to talk.
Yeah, I
Other
just
than
didn't want her
that-
to think I was ignoring her. I'm like, I'm glad you're here, but yeah, we'll talk during like halftime.
she did. She prefaced it all.
Talk during the
She was like,
break.
so here's me. Like I almost would say something. I'm like, never mind. Break. We're waiting for the break.
In timeout, I turned like,
But they get fired up. These two are Pam's like screaming, Andrea's yelling, like they keep the refs in line. They're serious about it. So.
Before a lot of games, refs come over and they're like, "Are we gonna have problems with you two tonight?"
Absolutely.
They know. Y'all been around long enough. They know.
But I told my mom, if you ever get thrown out of a game, I'm not walking out with you. You're gonna walk across that court by yourself and look real pitiful, but I'm not going with you.
That was too cute. So now, growing up, was your dad also your teacher? Did you attend at E-Town?
Yeah, I did. I attended E-Town, graduated from E-Town in 2005. At that time, my dad was the World Civ teacher, and sophomore year, I had him first period. His big thing was he likes to get to school early, and he was my ride, and I had to make sure I looked okay.
It was that or the
Andrea
bus
is
or
not
something.
to be
right?
rushed, okay?
I am not to be rushed, and so we're coming in right when the bell rings, and he's just like, we're walking in.
Teenage girl. I mean,
I told him, I said, we're getting there in
he
time.
has to expect that.
Yeah. And so we'd be walking in first period. He's like, go to the office, get a tardy. I'm like, we got here at the same time.
You come away
So
with
it was your dad
tardy.
too.
You're getting a
'cause
tardy too.
I did the same thing. My mom was my 7th grade English teacher, first period of the day.
Oh.
And that is the worst. So I found somebody who knows exactly how that
So
feels.
we get
now.
it. We get it.
We get it. She gets sent to the office for bringing in arguments from earlier that day, and you were told not to, and you do it anyways to see how far you can push the buttons. Yeah, I know all too well about that. Yeah.
As a parent, we just love when our kids do that.
It's I regret it. But I really don't. I'm lying. I don't regret it. Like she deserved it that day. She was being mean.
Deserved it.
That day.
I'm sorry, Mom. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Say, wait till we get to
listening to
school.
Yeah. She's like, it stops when you come come in the door, and then all my friends are there, and I'm like, it ain't stopping today. It's the last time I ever did that. So
I get it.
Well, okay, so moving on. So you went to E-Town for both middle and high school.
Yes.
And then how about after that? Where we go?
After I graduated from E-Town in 2005, I went to Western Kentucky. Didn't have much of a choice since my mom and dad went there.
Party school.
Like, yeah, I had a great time. My mom just said, you have 4 years. And
get it out.
I got in and out in 4 years, but I had a great time.
Awesome. So did you study anything to do with criminal justice or anything like that? Was there anything that kind of led you into this, or was it something completely different?
Well, I started out completely different. I started out in speech pathology, and I was like, I don't like that. Then I changed my major to communication. I was like, I don't like that either. And then I had taken a class, I think, sophomore, junior year at Western, and it was like introduction to policing. And we had an FBI agent come and speak to our class, and I was like, I think I like this. And that's when I just kind of, took a few classes, and then I graduated from Western with a degree in sociology and a minor in criminology.
Awesome.
Good for you.
Awesome.
So you come back to E-Town.
Came back to E-Town.
Was there a reason for choosing to come back, or was it just always the plan to settle here?
It was kind of always the plan. Like once I graduated, I knew I wanted to attempt to apply for the FBI and work for the FBI. And so I came back and I applied, and that's when they were like, you need to get a little bit more experience. And
I hate
was
when
like,
people say
Don't
that.
you hate that?
It's like it's the biggest cop out of get more experience, and how am I supposed to do that exactly
what do you want me to do?
Right.
So I ended up for a little bit. I worked at Physical Therapy Associates as a PT tech, and then I applied for the Hardin County Attorney's Office, and I worked for Jenny Oldham, and I was the first victim advocate there.
Very cool. So that stepping stone kind of opened doors for the policing aspect that you
did. It helped me, helping victims through the court system and court process that, a lot of people, when they go through that, they're just unaware of what to expect. So I was the one that was kind of guiding them through, working with the prosecutors and getting them the resources they need. So that also put me in contact with a lot of attorneys, the judges, and a lot of the different police departments around the area.
Was there any influence in your life? Because, policing, it seems pretty intimidating, pretty daunting. Was there any influence in your life as far as even from the FBI aspect? I mean, I just, that kind of guided you as a female into that role? Or was it just something that kind of birthed naturally?
It was, I think, just being a victim advocate around the different police departments or the police officers that would come into court. And I would say a big part of it was, he's a lieutenant now, but Pete Chitla, he's still there. Just talking to him, he knew I wanted to go to the FBI. He knew I was trying to get more experience. And he was like, come work for us. I was like, we'll see. And, and he just kind of, talked to me about the department. I loved how professional the officers were, reading their cases, just how just squared away all the officers all officers were that I worked with, but just especially at Elizabethtown Police Department. And I just kept going. I did visits and just talking to the officers, and then I applied. And
were your parents at all concerned about this line of work?
Yes. My mom was like, I'll why don't we just try this? I'll pay for you to go back to school. You can do
she's like 4 more years.
4 more years.
That's great.
You can go party for 4 more years.
I was like, you gave me 4 years. Now you're telling me you'll pay for me to go back. She was like, let's just try something else.
So you do that, and then you did talk to them, and then they, I assume, finally become okay with it. They come to terms that this is the path that you're going to go down. So to start out, you start at the academy, right? Is that kind of where you start your process a little bit, or do you do a couple weeks there before you go to the academy? How does that kind of all work?
Our department, I think majority of the departments around here, but I can speak for our department. You apply, and then you do a written exam, and then you do a physical fitness exam, and then you'll have a oral board where you'll speak with the chief and other people in the community, like an interview. And then you'll go through a suitability screening, a polygraph, and at that point you're offered a conditional job offer if you want to come on board. So you get hired first, and then you go to the academy.
So how long is that process of doing that? I mean, that sounds like a lot of steps just to get an offer letter, really.
Yes, it was several months. Of course, they want to just make sure they have qualified candidates. So it's series of months, and to the point you're like, maybe I didn't get it. They didn't call me.
Yeah.
But
I remember when Joe was going through that process, and it was very lengthy. And so, we were also newly married. Like, we need income. So it was definitely a little.
How long is this going to
How much
take?
faster can this go?
Can you call him and
he needs a
check?
job, okay?
Yeah.
Can he intern there? Can he do something around the department?
Whatever. He'll get you all drinks and food. He can be assistant. I don't know.
So what did you feel like, I'm curious, what do you feel like you scored or did the best in during that process? Like the
Ooh.
written, the physical?
Do you even
the
know your scores, or did they tell you?
polygraph?
I probably did. This was years ago.
Well, actually,
She's being modest. I bet she scored high on
Well,
everything.
how long have you been in law enforcement?
12 years.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. 12 years.
That's
Flown by.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't really remember your scores, though. Would you
I
tell us
don't.
if you do?
I did. I would.
If you
I
failed
would.
any portion, would you be honest?
Absolutely.
Did you fail any portion? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
If anybody wants to corroborate her story, is that how you say that?
Yeah. No, I like that word. That's a big word, and I think you got it right. I don't know. I'm not the one
Nailed
that
it.
If someone at the head of the Elizabethtown Police Department would like to send us her scores, no, I'm kidding. Obviously, she did. She's sitting here today,
Right?
and she's a sergeant
Yeah.
now. So,
So you
respect.
you get through that part, and then you do get the offer. You go on board, and then you go to the academy. Do you
Yes.
remember when you were in? I know it may have changed now, some of the standards now, but when you were in, how long did the academy process take? And really, what kind of struggles did you have? Because it's not an easy process to go through. Did you have points where you thought you were going to quit? Did you have times where you're like, I don't know if I made the right decision? Like, how was that whole process of going through the academy?
So when I went through in 2013, and then it was 18 weeks at that time. So the academy is at Richmond, Kentucky. You would go through the week and you would come home on weekends. I would say the part that I struggled with most was, just the firearm qualifications but they had great instructors. I would come back here on the weekends, and I had officers here that handled like the range that would work with me, like overtime and stuff. And so passed it no problem.
That's awesome. That's
Okay,
awesome.
so you're a brand new officer on the streets. Do you remember what that was like? I mean, I'm sure. Did you rode with someone? That was at least what Joe did. Joe
Right.
had a couple weeks with somebody.
So when you come back from the academy, every officer has like the FTO or PTO program. That's where you're riding with a training officer for 16 weeks. And they're just kind of I believe it's the first week, you're just riding with the officer observing. And then after that, they're just riding with you, and you're kind of handling everything. And they're kind of, critiquing you, telling you where you need to like improve and what your struggles are. So you do a 16-week program. And then after that, once they think that you're good,
On your own.
On
Well, I'm
your
guessing it's similar. I mean, in real estate, like you go to school for a very long time and you graduate, and then it's like, okay, now we're going to teach you what it's really like to sell real estate, right? So I would imagine, though the book learning in the academy was vital to the success of you as a police officer, once you get in that seat and you're the one that's actually writing the tickets and responding to the calls, nothing can compare to real life
Right.
education and training.
Right. I mean, in the academy, they're giving you scenarios and they're doing this, but it doesn't compare to just when you get out there and every call's different and just
Do you
handling
remember
it.
what that was like those first couple weeks? I
I'm
mean,
curious, like what your first stop
That's what I was gonna
like,
say.
what-
Do you
what's your
remember?
first
On
stop?
PTO or by myself?
Let's say by yourself, that first one.
My first call was, and I remember this because I couldn't find the street. It was, they sent me like Vega Alley. It was a guy in red sweatpants, and he was like yelling and going crazy. And I remember I was just driving. I was like, I can't find Vega Alley.
You mean there was no Waze back then? Like you
was
couldn't
trying to
just
put
type
it
it in on
in.
Waze or Apple Maps?
And
or-
I'm born and raised in E-Town, but we just know how to get places by like, oh, it's behind the high school,
Yes.
turn there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody
Well,
knows street names.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're getting to main places, not like
Yes.
one-off streets.
Right,
Yeah.
in a little alley, and I'm like, I can't find the guy yelling, and
Just like rolling down the window and like listening.
Pull up to pedestrians. Anybody know where Vega Alley is?
I think I was texting my guys like, "Where's Vega Alley?"
That's great. That's great. So you put yourself out in those like situations, but then from there you kind of grew. So kind of give us your path to where you are now as a sergeant. So when you started off as a deputy and you went kind of that route, what was your path to get to where you are now?
Okay. So once I finished the PTO process, I was on my own. I went to third shift, and I'm a third shifter. That's where my heart is. Love third shift. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Bless
I
you.
loved it.
Wow.
I don't know how people.
So somebody here's a night owl.
I'm a night owl.
Okay.
So in our third shift is 8 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning.
I would be asleep
Loved
at the
it.
wheel. They'd be waking me up for a call.
So I loved it. So I was on third shift for about 3 years. And then I knew I wanted to go to the detective section. So they were like, you know, you need more cases. Let's maybe go to second shift. That's one of our busiest shifts. So I went to second shift about a year. Then I went to the detective section. And I was in there probably about 7 years. And then that's when I took the sergeant's exam. And I got
to attend her ceremony.
You did.
It's really cool.
I'm glad y'all came.
It's very cool. Like, of course, like she's a little more relaxed today, but like dressed in full uniform, and she just looks so cool up there.
Thanks.
Just badass,
Thanks.
right?
I mean, there really isn't any other word for it, because not only is she like super impressive, like I've seen her not in action, right? I've not been on scene, but I've seen her like in social situations where something were to pop off, and like the change in who she is so instantaneous, and it is her, but it's just this other version of her, and she becomes so serious and so clear and like so focused, and so it's cool to see. But at the same time, like if I have a hangover, she's the first to like show up at my door like a little nurse, like with everything I could possibly.
Take this.
Oh, she'll sit there until I take it.
Because she won't take it. And I'm like, let me see you take it.
I know. I'm like, I'm gonna barf if you force this down my throat.
Because she'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna eat that and take that as soon as
you get out of
leave.
here.
And I'm like, and I know her, and I'm like, no, you won't.
You're gonna go back to sleep.
She does. She does. So it's so cool to see, and I think that does translate probably also into your policing, because there's probably times where not always is that, you know, big bad cop needed, but also some of that tenderness.
Oh yes.
So
just with, you know, the people we deal with on the streets, even down to the guys that's on my shift, like some of them call me mom.
The way she talks about, so now that she's a sergeant, obviously you're over how many guys?
Right now I have 5 on my shift, and then we have a swing shift, so half their shift they're with me, so 5 at a certain point, then I'll have 7.
I mean, it's adorable how much she cares for those guys. Like they're like
they're
her.
rascals, but they're my rascals.
Oh my gosh, that
They're
sounds like a
yours,
mom.
right?
That's such a mom thing to
Such
say.
a mom thing.
They're my
all
rascals.
listening right
I'm
now.
pretty sure
Like,
I've said
what
that
the
about
hell?
my kids.
Okay.
I text them. I tell because we have Chief coming in the morning to our roll call. I'm
yeah.
like, Chief will be there in the morning. Don't y'all embarrass me. Everybody act like y'all have sense. Thank you.
Oh my God, that's what I tell my kids every day. I'm like, don't embarrass me.
So I need to make friends with these 5 guys in case they pull me over and I can say, I know Andrea. Like, listen, hold on here. No, but in all seriousness, does that happen? And what do you have to do in those situations? How often do you have somebody like, I've got a guy that says he knows you?
All the time.
Does it really?
All the time. And I'll get a lot that will call me like, hey, I got this person pulled over and they said you're their cousin or something. I'm like, who is it? And they're like, so-and-so. I'm like, I don't know who that is. And they're like, you know what? I should have known that because they called you Andrea. And they
Oh my gosh, are people like looking up names online?
They got it ready to go.
Listen,
That's
I
wild.
know I'm related to Sergeant Smith. Smith is just a real common.
We have a Sergeant
Smith.
There you go.
Jones, Smith, you know.
There's a
say this-
Jones too.
I just saw a TikTok, and it was the funniest TikTok that I think I've ever seen. And it was 2 identical twin brothers, but one of them was a cop. And have you seen it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I'll have to send it to you. So his buddy is sitting there in the passenger side, and he pulls him over. He's like, dude, what are you doing going 40 over? And he's like, the guy in the passenger seat says, you better not give me a ticket. Mom gonna be mad. And it was 2 identical twin brothers. One was the cop and one was sitting in the. It was one of the funniest. So have you ever pulled over a family member that you didn't realize it was them, or somebody really close to that you didn't realize it was them?
Probably. I just recognize like a family member or my friend's car, and I'll like get behind them and mess with them. But, yeah.
Lamar Jones did that to me once and scared me half to death. Oh my goodness! So you're one of those. You like to give people a little hard time, some too.
I'm just saying, hey, like maybe turn the sirens on. Hey,
check. Just
That's
wake you up a little bit. Just make your butt sweat.
Yeah, just a tad. Oh.
So in the sergeant role, you are also a negotiator.
I am.
So tell us a little bit about what that role is like.
So before I became a sergeant, I was on our crisis negotiations team. And then once I became a sergeant, that's when I took over, and I'm now the sergeant over the crisis negotiation team. So it's just when not many people know that, but we do have not SWAT, but we have a SRT, a special response team. So any like high, like sensitive, like call out or any hostage situation or any barricaded individual, just anything that's going to be a little bit more dangerous, I would say, that's when they call it our SRT team. And so that's when they call it the crisis negotiators. And then that's the point that we try to make contact with the individual inside and try to just get them to come out peacefully without any issues.
So that communications major might have.
Yeah, there you go. Mom, it came into use, right? No.
So what's your longest negotiation you've sat up on?
8 hours.
Oh my gosh.
8 hours. And the guy the whole time's like, I'm not coming out.
So put us in that scene. So like, where are you? What are you doing for 8 hours?
This particular incident, guy and his girlfriend, domestic, that led to a small pursuit. He went to an apartment building that his dad owned, and he just barricaded himself inside. And he could see us getting in position, and he was just, I'm not coming out. So I was outside with our like bullhorn trying to communicate with him. And we have also like what we call like throw phones, where our special response team can, break a window out and throw our phone in there so I can communicate with him. But we had his cell phone, so we just try to call, and so bullhorn wasn't working. I was on scene that wasn't working, so I just went back to the station in our dispatch area and got him on the phone, and we were just able to just talk. And went from he was just, I'm not coming out. I'm not doing it. I see all y'all out there. I see, this person's moving here, just to a point of just talking and doing some of our negotiation tactics. After 8 hours, I was able to say, I gave him an option, like, you got to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. Because at some point,
And he agreed. He said if I was on scene, he would walk out to me. So at that point, it's all about, relaying information. So I had to let our SWAT team, our SRT team know, like, he's going to come out. I'm going to come back over to scene. I'll be there, and we'll figure out the best tactically safe way to get him out. And he came out after 8 hours.
Wow. Did you have other people, like bystanders in that situation, you had to be concerned about or anything like that when he barricaded himself up? Or
usually what we do, we always check the surrounding like residences or apartments. We clear everybody out. We set like a whole perimeter and just make sure no one's in the area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you're done, what do you feel physically? Because there has to be a lot of adrenaline going through you. And I mean, for 8 hours, I can imagine like the emotional toll it took on you physically and mentally. I mean, 8 hours, did you eat?
One of the tactics they teach us with being a crisis negotiator, because you could be there a while, is just, always in our like little go bag, have some kind of snack or just something. But, our command, the other officers helping, they're good about like trying to bring us food in and water and just everything. So,
but I'm sure that was quite
it's draining.
Yes.
Once he comes out and after you're done talking, you're just like, and just like all that's just like,
but it's what you train for, right? I mean, that's what they train you for and have you prepared for and ready to go when those situations come up, which thankfully, and way more than us than we do, because there's things we probably obviously don't hear about. But that said, Elizabethtown's an extremely safe town to be in, and it's because of what you guys do for that.
For sure.
And that said, like, and I don't mean to bring it up one way, bad, good, or the other, but, the past 4, 8, even 12 years, there's been a lot of kind of unrest that kind of comes sometimes, and you guys have done an awesome job at combating that and not putting yourself in any type of certain bubble. You do really good at being part of the community.
In the communication coming from the Elizabethtown Police Department. Did you see the Facebook post the other day about the cats?
I was like, I can't tell if this is a Cards fan or a Cats fan running this account. When I think it was just a couple days ago, they said something like, weather. We can't figure out what's going on with this weather. It's about as unpredictable as the Cats right now. I was like, oh, shots fired. Like,
I wondered if Grafton saw it.
Oh, I saw it. Trust me. And I immediately thought, if this is a Cards fan, Andrea, we need to have somebody else running this thing. If it's a Cats fan, I agree with them. So, whichever way you want to go about that. No, but it's funny. They do a good job with social media.
We try to. We try to be as transparent with things that we can put out immediately that we can, just to keep everybody informed.
Well, and I also think you all work really hard to connect with the community. So talk us through some of the different outreach. There's Shop with a Cop.
Shop with the Cop. We also, one of our other big programs that we do is our Citizen Police Academy. I'm a big fan of that if y'all haven't joined or tried it.
I've done some stuff back. We did like some, and it's been since I was 16, but we did like I don't know, it was like a female, you learn how to protect yourself type thing back in high school. And we did it down at the police department. There was police officers there. So I don't know what that was. It was that's a long time ago. But anyway, not that old. Okay. They don't ask for my ID anymore.
That long ago.
So anyway, but we did a class down there, and that was really cool. So it just, the more exposure you have to that, the fear kind of tends to now when they pull up behind me with their lights on, I'm still terrified. But you start to realize like they're really watching over and protecting you.
We're big about putting a face with the police officers in your community. So we just try to have different programs. We have the Teen Citizens Academy. We haven't been able to do it here recently, but we have like Coffee with a Cop. But our big thing, as I was saying, is our Citizen Police Academy. It's just a 6-week program that meets once a week, and you just get like a different presentation from each like section. Like you'll get a presentation from the detectives, the coroners, our drug task force, and the K-9. And then during that period, you get to do a ride along also.
Oh, that's cool.
The ride alongs are so fun too.
Being married to a cop, you would think that I could say I've ever had a ride along, but I've never been on one.
Really?
Never. I always wanted to go, and then of course being pregnant while we were married and stuff, I didn't feel he didn't want me to do it then. But like I've always wanted to, because obviously I've been a wife in the situation and heard about being a cop, but I've never gotten to live a day in the cop's
we can
life.
arrange that.
Hey.
I want to. Sign me up.
I think we can arrange it.
The Hardin County Chamber does a leadership program, and I went through that. I think it was 2019 is when we went through it. And so it's not the full Citizens Police Academy, but you get to do some of the things that you all do in that. So we got to do a ride along. Number one, we did get, I don't want to say stuck because that's a bad word. We got with a detective who was much more conservative than some of the other ride-alongs I heard. And the other ride-alongs were like, oh my gosh, we were chasing this guy. It was awesome. I was like, that's cool. We had a guy pass us on a double line, and we didn't get to pull him over because he was concerned for our safety. And I get it. I was like, I get it.
Okay. You'll never be with a detective. You'll always be the road of road
I think
guy.
we were with the Hardin County Sheriffs when we did maybe some of those online. Nothing against them. They're great too.
You're alive. But did you die?
Exactly. But did you die, right? Everybody else talking about, oh my gosh, we had to go. And there was tons of us all on the same day. But it was a really cool experience to kind of see the situations you all get put in. But another really fun thing about that, which I think is something you all might do in the police academy, is kind of a scenario like that you all have in one of your training rooms. That's like, it's got, I don't even know how many thousands of different scenarios that come up, and they put you in that situation with, and they had one of these on post that we did too. And I don't want to get the two confused, but I think it was the one on post that they actually, they let us put they were, I say fake guns, no ammo or anything like that in your hands, and you get to make the decision on what to do in that. And you get put in that situation for a split second. I never want to be in some of the situations you all have to be in.
Yes, we have one at the department. It's one of the virtual scenarios.
Yeah, the virtual, that's exactly what it was.
You get the, you'll get like the gun, the taser and everything, and you can interact with it, and it lets you show how you will react to different scenarios.
And you
in a
say
split
something
second.
and they talk back to you, and it's like, it's crazy. Like, it's like it's happening.
It's pretty,
I want to try that.
Come on in.
I know. I was kind of
scared to try it on a simulator.
I know.
You do it. Oh, I failed miserably, just so everybody knows. I did not pass, but it really put a much different perspective on the scenarios that you all get put in, which I think is why the Citizens Police Academy is such a great program for everybody in this area to see what you go through every day.
Right. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one of the aspects that they're incorporating into the Citizens Police Academy. And one of the officers, he's great at, I'm not going to use the correct term, but he's techie. And he just built us a driving simulator now. So so along with the virtual simulator, we also have a driving simulator.
So I can come down there and prove to everyone I'm a really great driver.
Yes, you sit in it, and they can.
Why do I not believe that?
Otherwise, you might not want to do that.
Ignore my rims.
Does it tell you how many nicks you get in your rim?
It tells you when you crash. Like it.
I said I legit am coming.
Yeah, it's also awesome. He is like. He's amazing at what he does, and you sit in it, they give you scenarios, and it's like your chair's going. And
so I've got to ask about this now. Speaking of this scenario and the Hardin County Chamber Leadership Program, I was in that program with the one Jamie Land, who may have been somebody that you worked under for a little while.
I
Is
did.
that right?
I
Okay,
did.
okay. So he was the police chief for E-Town when we were going through the program, and I just so happened to see him the other day where I go get my hair cut at Beyond the Brick, and I saw him and I started talking, and I was telling him who our next guest was, and he's like, "Make her tell you the story about Dukes of Hazzard."
Oh.
So I've got to hear this story now.
I want to know.
So when I first started, like Jamie Lynn, everybody's just terrified of him. He's such a nice guy, but his demeanor and he's quiet.
he is.
Everybody, like I was saying, I was on third shift, and sometimes he would text me in the morning when I was asleep, like, "When you wake up, I need you to call me." And I'm like, "What I do? I'm calling you right now." And I'd call him. "You didn't have to call me right now." "Yes, I did." "What is it?" "I won't be able to sleep." But there was one night, I think I was on my own. I had just been on my own maybe 3 weeks. And, you know, like, I'm like, I can look at me. I can drive fast. I can do cool things. And so we were responding to a stabbing. And I was like, I want to get there first. So I'm like peeling out in front of all my like other officers. I'm like, I'm going first. Well, I was coming upon this intersection of Woodland and Ring. You know, you can't go straight across Ring, like where Walgreens is, because that median.
Yeah.
Well, I went straight across it.
Okay.
At a high rate of speed, unfortunately. But it was the lesser of two evils. I was like, if I make this turn, I could flip my cruiser. So we're just going to go
I'm just go straight. Just let it go.
Yeah, and I ramped it, ended up in Walgreens grass, tore up their grass. And on shift, I wear my hair like in a curly like poof, and like my poof hit the roof. And so that's when I was like, this landing is not going to be good. And it wasn't.
No.
It was not. It was not. So I didn't get to go on the stabbing until I'm just sitting there and Walgreens parking lot. People coming by like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "What are you going to do? Like, do you need help?" I'm like, "What are you going to do?" So they towed my car, throw me keys to a backup, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting so fired. And the next call, and this is now it's about 2:30 or 3 in the morning. So the next call I go to is a domestic. I think it was off of Deeks Drive, and they were like, okay, next call you'll be going with 70. He'll be responding. That's Jamie Land. And I was like, why is Jamie Land?
Oh,
Someone's
no.
in trouble.
Yeah. Why is he going to this domestic with me at 3 in the morning? Why is he out? I was like, I'm getting so fired.
You thought it was happening right after that call, didn't you?
So we're walking this domestic, and I'm like, hey, did you hear? He's like, mm-hmm.
And he probably gave you nothing else other than that.
And I was like, so what do you think? He's like, it happens.
But he does that. If you don't know him, he does that though. Because I remember when we were in that program together, we were like rushing. Me and one other guy were rushing to get in on time to 8 o'clock meeting. And if you know me, I'm not a morning person, right? I'm a night owl too. So we're rushing to get it. And we pull in, first and only ticket I've ever gotten. We pull into kind of behind where downtown where Vibe is and all that area. And we pull in, and you have to go left, and then you're supposed to like pull in straight and all this kind of stuff. Well, there was this big garbage dump truck right there, and it was not moving. So we had to go backwards, and we backed into our parking spot because we couldn't just go straight in. Well, we go and we come back out at lunch, and we both have tickets. And we're like, why do we have tickets? Like everybody else is parked here without tickets. We were the only two not facing towards the wall. We were facing in, and there was a small little sign that says, no, or you must face the curb or whatever like that. So we get the tickets. We go back into Jamie, and we're like, Jamie, like, you know, we got tickets. We're thinking Jamie's going to do something. He's going to get rid of these tickets for us.
He got us.
Jamie's response was, guess y'all boys will be on time next time. And I was like, what?
That sounds like
I was sitting there like, are you joking? Are you about to get this ticket taken care of? So I paid my $5 ticket or whatever it was for parking the wrong way. But no, he's a good dude. But he gives that demeanor though. When you first like meet him, he's like, it's a no BS type of guy sometimes.
And then you meet him, he's awesome.
But he is. He'll give you a shirt off his back. He's a super, super nice guy.
Yeah. I still keep in contact with him now. He's awesome. Him and his wife and family, they're great.
Well, good.
So I have a little bit more of a serious question. So I want to know what it's like being a female in this role, and like, was there ever challenges as you got into it, or has it always been smooth sailing?
Honestly, I can't speak for every female's experience, but my experience has been great. I haven't experienced any kind of like turmoil or adversity or anything. It's been a great experience from, you know, just with the respect I get from everybody at my department to the respect I get to, the people we deal with on the streets, of course you'll get one or two. They're like, I didn't want a female cop.
You didn't really get a choice, buddy.
Yeah, you can't cop shop. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, yeah,
that's a program we do for children at Christmas time.
It's flipped.
Give me a second. Let me pick which police officer I want today. Like swipe left, no, right.
Or they're like, I need a sergeant out here, and I show up, and they're like,
a different
woman.
Oh, great.
A woman with stripes.
Oh, yeah. That's got to be frustrating, though. Like, for you, is it frustrating, or are you used to it? Because, like, in the world that we live in today, that shouldn't be something that anybody's doing, right? Like, I mean, it should be, we feel like we should be past that by now, but obviously we're not. So how does it make you feel as a female officer? Do you just look past it? Does it make you want to educate people more? What does that make you feel like sometimes?
I think in our profession, you have to have thick skin. And I think, it's just something like you just let roll off your back and we'll laugh about it later. Like my guys will come and like that guy kept going. It's like, I hate that you have to write this report and she doesn't.
Oh, so like you're supposed to write the report because you were the one who pulled it over and didn't have to come in later down the road, right?
So we just laugh about it. It's nothing that I take to heart or take serious.
Tell us a little bit about like maybe some of your toughest, if you're allowed to. Obviously, we don't share anything you're not allowed to share, but tell us maybe some of an experience, maybe one of your toughest situations here in Hardin County.
I would say the toughest, probably not the most recent, but I mean, it's one that was very publicized. Our courthouse, the active shooter at the courthouse. I'd say that was one of the toughest ones in general. And then being the sergeant that was on duty, and when you hear, so we have like a tone that drops. That's when it's like, hey, all officers, this is serious. Get ready to listen to this. Everybody's going. So when you hear that tone, you're like, okay, wait, what comes next? And then you hear what it is, and just, as you're going there, it's like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders because you're thinking about, of course, all the injured people. You're thinking about your officers, just wanting them to be safe. And you're just thinking of like, okay, when I get there, what do I need to do? What needs, you're just going through a checklist in your head. And so I think that was one of the toughest ones, and just overall, just, the outcome of what it was.
What are those moments like? Does it just feel like the longest day ever? Like, does time slow down? Like, do you just go into like a different mental space? Or
yeah, you do, because when you're driving there, of course, you have to be very just vigilant of all the traffic still as you're driving there, but you're just running through your head like, when I get there, here's what I'm going to do. You think that's what you're going to do, or you might walk in, it might be totally different when you get there. So once you get on scene and you just see everything that's going on, that's when you just kind of, that your training kicks in, you just go into action.
Yeah.
Well, and in that specific scenario, first of all, you all did an awesome job keeping as many people safe as possible. But when you have people responding and the chaos going on, what is that like when you get in there? Like, I know you have EMTs and things like that, but if they're not there, how do you respond? How do you make sure you're staying safe if you're having to respond, not necessarily to the active shooter yourself? There's other people that are taking care of that portion, but you've got people that need help. So what are you doing in those situations?
That's, again, where all our officers are just well trained. So we get there on scene, and our first couple priorities is addressing anyone that's injured and needs help. And, it's just everybody plays an important role. We go straight to the injured and start rendering aid and giving any kind of aid that we have. And then you have the other officers that are just working security, making sure, because we don't know at that point, the active shooter, we didn't know where he was. So we can work on the individuals that need care.
But you're a target at that point yourself.
Yeah. So we have other officers that just are at the perimeter, just watching guard for us while we are working on the injured subjects.
I remember being very worried about you. I'm sure your parents worry a lot about you.
I think I had texts and calls from you.
Well, and
Mom.
I always preface it with like, don't worry about me. I'm just checking in and making sure you're okay, because you don't want to bother them, right? Obviously, right. And she doesn't. She goes into work mode, but also the families behind these officers, like, we salute you guys. We know that is just as big of a sacrifice as obviously serving in law enforcement. Like, you guys are obviously on the front line, but there's a lot of families at home that, sign up for not always knowing what's happening out there and kind of having to wait at, when Joe would be involved in something like that. being at home, powerless, and with oftentimes very little information until it was all said and done.
Right.
You have to just kind of settle into the fact that they know what they're doing. They're trained for this, and you guys are experts, and but it takes its toll on everyone.
Oh, of course.
Even the family involved. So
well, and you say this. I've heard Rachel say this often about these scenarios. From Joe and you and other specific scenarios like that. But you all really run to the areas we run away from. When I say we run away from, most citizens in those situations, we're trying to find safety. I've never been in a situation like that, thank goodness. But in those situations, I don't know how I would react, right? But you all are running straight towards it.
Yes.
And it's something.
they're the closest thing to superheroes that we have. They're the ones. Literally, you'll see a scene where people are running, and here's the police officers charging right into the middle of what is dangerous.
And speaking of that call, it was I was maybe fourth or fifth of the officer on scene, and there was a few still as I'm coming up, you had a few still citizens just running past you, and you're just still kind of like, what's going on? But your just focus is anyone that just needs assistance, care.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and you say,
I was going to say, as a parent in that situation, it was the first time that like a serious situation had happened when, now I'm in the parent role in the community. And so like the communication that you all had with at least getting the notice out, like, hey, there's an active shooter, I'm checking with the schools. We don't know the situation at that time. You all don't know either, but, getting that communication out as quickly as you all did, like,
well, and you got to think about it.
Such a huge thing.
I've lived here 35 years. So, 5 of those I lived in Louisville. That was almost a daily occurrence. 30 years here in E-Town, that was, the whole world stopped. Everything came to a halt. Because we live in such a safe community. We're talking about this one instance, but you have to understand, like, based on, the cities surrounding us, we are just so blessed. You guys shut things down quickly.
That is one of our main priorities. We just, anything happens, we try to jump on as quick as we can. We take it personal. Like, this is our community, and these are the people that we're looking out for. So we just try to just get on it and get things solved and safe and secure as quick as possible as we can.
Well, and you guys do a great job of it, and really, I think all of our departments do it. And you'll probably remember this as somebody whose mom was a teacher. The situation, we very rarely have these come up, so that's why we remember them like so vividly. But when John Ward and the John Harden situation and that situation, my mom was at New Highland teaching. So I'm here and this is going on and I'm freaking out because the school's right there next to it. And she's at a classroom that's on the end right next to, where John's at. And I'm like, what's going on? And our departments do such a good job at making those split-second decisions and doing what has to be done to keep people safe. So that's amazing. But you used the word superhero. So I kind of wanted to go back a little bit to what you were talking about being a woman in this field. What is it like for little girls in our community who come up and see you and think, oh my gosh, he's a police officer, I can do this? Can you talk a little bit about that in those situations, how it makes you feel and knowing that you're one of those big heroes that they look up to in this community?
It's a good feeling. It's a rewarding feeling. It's you just see little girls like, you're a police officer, you're a policewoman, or you'll walk past and be like, she's a police officer. It's awesome. You just try to chat and be like, yeah, you can be one too. Yeah, come on. Like,
there's very few places I go with Andrea that everyone isn't talking to her and like,
so she's Miss Popular too.
She is Miss Popular.
This one too.
We went somewhere the other day. It was Taylor Brooks' daughter. She wants to be a police officer when she grows up. Well, I think she told us she wanted to either be the president of the United States or a police officer. There might have been one other thing, but I was like, well, Andrea's here, and so she got to meet Andrea, and it was beautiful, like to know that the little girls in our community have someone like Andrea to look up to. And not just is she incredible in her field, but she's just an amazing human being, good person. So if that is your daughter that is looking up to her, she is headed in the right direction.
Yeah, and I love, and I always tell them, like, we have a couple girls. We have, like, come on down. Yeah. My lieutenant, Lieutenant Kuklinski, she's a female. We have a female in the detective section, Detective Brandy Craig, and I just tell them, come on down. Like we have a few more in the academy. You know.
So if those girls, just in all honesty, if those girls of parents that are listening that have little girls who that might be something, can they come and see? I mean, obviously they can't ride, maybe do the ride-alongs, things like that, but can they come down to the department and meet you all and like get an idea of what you all do and talk to you and that? That's awesome. That's really, really cool that they have that availability to do so, because a lot of departments and other places may not have that or offer that. So really
if it's not, if nothing major's going on and we have plenty of people there, we do get people that just stop by like, hey, we just want to check out the department, or I'm interested, or my kids want to just see the canine or see the officers. Like, they're all about that.
So speaking of being out in public and in the community and things like that, Rachel had mentioned to me once upon a time that kind of how things work when she goes out with you. So like, you know, you spoke the Mexico thing at the very beginning. What's it like being a police officer and going certain places? Because I heard, and I would have never thought about this, but you might sit in certain places and position yourself certain ways. So how does that work?
I like to look at the door. I like to have my back to a wall and just seeing who's coming in, coming out. And we'll go out to eat sometimes, and she'll try to sit there. I'm like, I hate to move you.
I think I spent 10 years in a marriage preparing for this friendship.
Oh, right.
Because she's very
now
clear.
She knows,
she's very clear on where she's sitting and what we're doing.
It's not that I don't trust that you will look at our surroundings.
Well, I can't fight, so it's a good idea. And
I'm not very aware. I'm telling on myself, but you know, if I'm going out with Andrea, she's sitting right where she can look at the door. No, but no, speaking with, in all honesty, when you go on dates and stuff too, do you do that same thing there? Do you kind of position yourself in those ways?
I try to. Well, first you have to look them up and make sure they're safe that you can even go on a date with.
You're doing background
checks. She'd be looking up dates for me too.
I'm like, who are you going with? Who is it?
And what time are you going? And when will you be done? Okay, like, Mom. Okay.
You just gonna be safe. Like,
oh, that makes sense.
But you know, hopefully, I try to like discreetly, if it's a date, like try to get in my seat first.
I mean, I'm taking that one over there. That kind of thing. So, speaking of which, does it intimidate guys sometimes? Because I've been on a date, but with a police officer before, and I found it not intimidating. I actually found it, you know, attractive that she was a woman in power, right? But how does that work for you in your personal life?
You get a little bit of both. I think you think you'll get some men that are just like not intimidated or bothered by it and just think it's cool. You'll get some that are like, oh, okay, I gotta get extra macho or like prove that I'm tough.
It's probably a lot like, I mean, you know, being in my position, like, you know, out there working all the time, running businesses, there's a perception of who I am, and then there's the reality of who Rachel is, right? So I'm sure the perception of you is like kind of at first like off, you know, a little off-putting for a male, like, oh, it's a little intimidating.
Yes.
But if they got to know you, which
I get that.
How was your Valentine's Day, by the way?
Yeah, we talked about ours a little bit before this. Let's hear about yours. Yeah.
It was good. It was good.
Did I see roses? I mean, I know. Okay, guys, like I'm acting like I don't know. I mean, I got a text as soon as they arrived, but did you get roses?
I did. I got roses sent to work from a special somebody.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Okay.
It was really sweet.
We like this special somebody.
Oh,
so.
do we? Okay. I like him. I don't even know who he is, but I like the guy. I don't know.
He's sweet. He's sweet.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. One of those ones who's okay with an officer.
Let's
with
just say,
right?
let's just say he quickly was like, no, when you're with me, I protect you. And it was so cute.
Oh.
Talk about the most romantic thing ever.
Yeah, because I'm looking around. He's like, you don't have to do that. He's like, when I'm here, I got it. I'm looking around. I'm seeing who's coming in. I'm like,
isn't that the cutest?
Did that make you feel some type of way though? It made you feel like, you know, you're like, okay then.
Okay, but I'm still gonna look. Just in case.
In case you miss something,
yeah,
you
just
don't know.
Hey, we'll both be on a swivel.
Whatever. What you said to him was, you're like, oh, thanks. And meanwhile, you're like,
Well, until we had a little bit of this conversation, when I went on my date with a cop, I didn't think about it, but she positioned herself in the same way that you're talking about, you know? So you think about those things, but that's good. So
I think it's just little things
Day.
that we just get used to, and we're just like,
I think God meant for me to find you because, you know, every dumb blonde needs somebody to protect her. And when I got divorced, there was a gap there. God was like, we gotta
find somebody to protect Rachel.
We gotta put somebody else, because I am so naive. I mean, I'm born and raised here. My parents never locked their house, never locked their cars. You know, we just lived in such a bubble, and so, that first time I realized I needed to lock my vehicles was when I moved to Louisville. And so then moving back here, you just get in such a rhythm and you just feel so safe. And this one be like, did you lock your doors? I'm like, let me get up out of bed.
So you're saying we should lock our car doors and we should lock our
car
house.
door. Everybody lock your car doors. Lock your house doors. Check your windows just to be safe. And even if you're like in bed, like, did I lock my doors? Just get up and check.
Yeah.
Just get up and check.
Yeah. Is there anything that like the EPD would like to share? I mean, obviously we've already talked about how great of a job you guys do communicating and like things that are happening. You're pretty much on it instantly and getting that message out there. But is there anything that we need to be doing or our listeners, viewers need to be aware of right now?
Just the simple things like we were just talking about, just making sure if you park outside, just making sure that your car doors are locked, not leaving any valuables in your car. Of course, like purses, and if you do, like leaving them visible. Not leaving like any weapons, handguns in your car. Like if you can get any of your valuables out, if you park outside, take them out and just double check and make sure your car doors are locked, and making sure your doors as your residence are locked, because people will walk in your house. They will.
Well, before we get to
Creepy.
our
I am I'm so paranoid with that. I'm like every single night, like Ryan will be knocked out on the couch snoring, and I'm like, I gotta go make sure that's good.
That's good.
No, I can't. I can't do it.
Well, we've got some rapid fire questions ready to go that we always ask our guests at the end of the podcast.
Give
You
her
ready
the
for 'em?
really tough ones, okay?
Yep, the
How
toughest
rapid
ones.
fire? How long do I have to respond?
Oh, you can take your time.
Okay.
Yeah,
However long you want.
they're just
2
No, they
seconds.
have to be
Okay.
instantaneous.
Oh gosh.
As I'm
Dun,
saying
dun.
it comes out. All right. What is your favorite local restaurant?
JR Neighbors.
Best local outdoor activity?
I don't do a lot of outdoor activities.
It's being a police officer.
I like going to the lake with my friends, going to the lake.
There you go.
And you like the wine fest? We always do the
Oh,
wine fest.
that's outdoors. Yes, I really enjoy
She
She's
likes
like wine.
outdoors with wine.
with wine. Yes,
Or
the
bodies
wine
of
fest
water.
that the city puts on. It's great.
Yes,
I love it.
We are already like watching for tickets for that. That's
Oh,
gonna be
okay.
so much fun.
It is such a good time.
I need to go this year.
Yeah.
I'm
should.
pregnant.
No, you're definitely going with it.
We're going, right?
It's
We're
such a-
going. We're all
We're
going to
all
go
going.
together.
Okay.
Okay.
Live
there we go.
music.
It's so
down.
relaxing.
Food trucks.
Yes,
Yeah.
very chill.
And wine.
And
That's
wine.
all my favorite things.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and it's all like it's all
Music,
local
wine,
wines
food.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it's a winner.
Okay, one word you'd use to describe our area.
Growing.
I love
one. I
that.
like
I,
it.
love that. It's true.
Like it.
What is your favorite local event?
Local event. I would again say the wine fest, or any of our fall festivals that they do downtown. I love I'm a fall person, so the little fall fest kicking off fall,
Like Glendale Days.
Glendale Days, and then we were having like the little fall fest with like the little concert and everything.
Yes,
So,
I
yeah.
remember that. Yeah. If you could change one thing about our area, what would it be?
Change one thing.
Okay, just say it. We need a Trader Joe's.
We do need a Trader Joe's.
That's it.
And a Super Target.
Super target.
Target. There we go. You heard it from the source.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. Is there any other questions you two had before I wrap this up?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I could sit here and talk to you. I mean,
I
we
know
do
this is fun. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is. I mean, we love a glass of wine and we could talk for hours.
Oh, yes.
So, but we want to thank you, for coming in and sitting down with us. We appreciate you and everything that you do for our community. Like I mentioned before, you're one of my heroes. Like,
thank you.
I truly love and respect you. And also to the police officers in our community. Like, I've gotten to meet some of you, not all of you, but we just have such a great group of guys. And that
We
doesn't
really do.
specific to E-Town PD. We love you all, but we also have a lot of respect and love for the different departments that are around us. You all work really
We have a
closely
great
together.
working relationship with
Yeah,
every department in the area. It's
And
great.
it takes that
It does.
to protect everyone, right? Like you guys couldn't cover everything. So we're so
Absolutely.
grateful for the surrounding departments.
And
So-
if anybody had any questions, we know the number if there's an emergency. It's 911,
yeah,
right? That's the one
That's
that you
clear.
call an emergency.
Don't call that for info.
my kids do. My kids are like,
Oh, no.
911. Where's mom?
Oh,
Oh
my
no!
goodness.
Oh no! Well, I got stuck one time where my phone got stuck in my pocket, and dispatch
Oh,
it like on the iPhone where it has has that.
Yes,
that
if you would like hit it a couple times.
Yes.
So I was mowing outside and it was in the riding mower and it got stuck. It called
And it was calling
21 times in a row. So I like go and change my. Don't look at me like that. Jesus. It was bad. It was bad. So
They're like, we think he's getting mowed up or something.
That's what they thought. That's exactly what they thought. So I end up like Santa's like, oh my gosh, I gotta call the dispatch back. And I call back and they're like, sir, are you okay? We've gotten 21 missed calls from you. And I'm like, I was like, no, I'm fine. My phone got stuck, and I was trying to explain it. He's like, okay, just make sure it doesn't happen again, because we had about three cars that were almost to you on your way. He's like, we thought that the mower had ran over
mowing, and all of a sudden all these cops
just waving, like, hey.
I would have changed my pants instantly. I know I would have.
Governor's like, I didn't do anything.
But in those non-emergency situations, what's the phone number that they can call if they have questions, if they want to set up, talking about the police academy, come see maybe the department, things like that? Who do they call?
Honestly, if you want to, anytime you want to drop by to get information about any of our programs, you can just do a walk-in. But if you have a non-emergency, you can call, it will call straight into our dispatch. And that number is 270-765-4125. And that is our non-emergency line that will get you to just, if you have any kind of questions that's not needing immediate
attention.
And
for
they're
sure.
great. I mean, they've talked me through several scenarios, because I'll reach out to Andrea and she'll be like, I'd call down to the department. So if it's not an emergency and you just need somebody to tell you what to do next, they're great about that. So
Awesome.
That's awesome.
yeah. Well, thank you again. I can't wait for Xander to watch this episode. My 5-year-old, this is his girlfriend.
Oh, so
He's
your
got
other
many
guy's got to watch out.
Yes, we've amped it up to the point where now he tells his dad that Andrea's his favorite police officer.
I love that.
That's funny.
Joe just enjoys that so much.
I'm sure he does.
I enjoy that so much.
But we love you. Thank you again for coming
Absolutely.
in. We are very impressed with you and everything you do in our
thank you.
community. Thank you for keeping all of us safe.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you all for having me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, that is episode
5.
we
And
are 5 episodes in.
And episode 6, we got a little bit of March Madness. Speaking of basketball, we got a little bit of March Madness coming up, a little bit of rivalry. We'll be sitting a little farther, maybe different seats on this next episode.
I'm going to wear red
So-
from head to toe.
We do.
Okay?
We've actually got, I think somebody Mike Betts. I think you may
Yes,
know
yes,
Mike.
yes.
He's our next guest on this to kind of talk about some of his college ball. And
Awesome.
we're going to go into a little bit of little rivalries here. So
I'm super
that'd be fun.
excited.
So
It'll be fun.
we're friends now, and until next episode, we'll see. We'll see.
We will find out real quick.
Awesome.
Well, thank you again for joining us. Thank you for watching and supporting this podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you all, and we hope you all have a wonderful week.